Hey everyone, it's the Nitty Professor, and today we're going to take a look at the potential health benefits of wearing heritage boots. Now, personally, I've been wearing heritage boots for a good 4 years now, about 95% of the time, and I have personally experienced health benefits, so I thought I would look into this a little bit, and I found some good details on why my experience probably lines up with the reality. So let's dig in. So first point is about the midsoles, footbeds, heel counters of heritage boots. They tend to be firm. So what happens as a result of that is that this firm structure helps to distribute the load more evenly across your feet. And that can reduce strain on like your arches, your ankles, and even your knees. And if you're standing or walking a lot, that can result in lower fatigue and less discomfort. So as an illustration, I have this pair of boots here from Truman. These are the cherry shrunken bison, dark cherry shrunken bison. And as you can imagine, this leather is quite firm. Since it's a shrunken leather, it's very structured. I have managed to put my imprint on these boots, as you can tell, and we will talk about that shortly. But just looking at the structure of the heel, I can't even depress this. That's how firm this is. So the heel cup where my heel is inside there, it holds my heel in place without squeezing on it. And this is never going to collapse. So it's protecting my Achilles heel, my ankle, and of course the front of the boot also is, this has a structured toe. Now some of my boots don't have a structured toe. This one does. But look at the thickness of that midsole. That baby isn't going to go anywhere. So if I step on a rock or something where my foot might want to twist or turn somehow in a way that's unnatural, this boot's going to prevent that. It's going to prevent that because everything about it is firm. And if we compare and contrast that, for example, with my lovely Chucks, look at, this heel counter. It's way more scritchable, especially when you get to the top. There's just not a whole lot of structure. There's a little bit going on here. And of course, this can wear out over time because guess what? It's not leather. It's not made of quality materials, even though the whole rainforest vibe is awesome. So going to the next point about durability and consistent structure, the quality leather and solid construction of a boot like this isn't going to break down as quickly as flimsier materials. So that means the support that you're going to get, it's going to last for a long, long time. The sole isn't going to flatten. The midsole isn't going to collapse because this has a good shank in it. Now, to be frank, I'm trying to remember if Truman has a leather shank or a steel shank. It's probably one or the other. I know that, for example, Red Wings have a steel shank in them. So a lot of heritage boots are going to have a high quality, it's time for something, a high quality shank inside. So this is never going to collapse. The arch is never going to collapse. And you're always going to have that structure over the long haul. It's not like, take a shoe like this, which, great, these are cute, but how much structure is there? There's hardly any arch support at all, maybe just, a hair. But since, it's just flimsy, it's really not going to support me over the long haul. That's why I don't wear those shoes very often, even though they're cute. Next point is how the leather molds to your foot. So let's look at a different example here. These boots are almost completely leather. There's probably some cork in there and, eyelets and a little bit of rubber on the heel. But these are from Wolverine 1000 Miles in the yellow olive tanned leather from Horween. So the leather is going to give and conform to your foot shape over time. That, that would be different from, say, I don't know, a Croc, for example, which I think is out on any of those if you like Crocs, no shade, but I think these are better. So it's going to conform to your foot shape, which can help with pressure points, and it can reduce rubbing, reduce blistering, and improve the fit. So obviously, you got to break them in, right? So in the breaking in period, there might be some discomfort, but the product of that effort of breaking it in is that the boot conforms to your foot. And you're not going to have places where you rub and get blisters because the leather has turned itself into a perfect cover for your foot. Even on the inside, the insoles can adapt to the shape of your heel, the shape of your toes. In fact, A lot of people say don't ever buy used boots because they're going to fit perfectly the previous wearer. They're never going to fit your foot perfectly because you didn't break them in. Another point, so this number 4, is the natural breathability of leather, as opposed to something like this, which has got some synthetic in there. You know, it used to be these shoes were made out of cotton, but now I can tell there's probably either nylon or polyester mixed in. So they're not going to be as breathable, even though they do have those little holes. Those are very cute, and they're like teasing me, thinking, ooh, they're so breathable. But leather is breathable. I can literally sweat through these boots, leather boots. I've done it many times. And on these, we have even increased breathability because the sole is leather. And therefore, they even help me. I wear these all summer long, and they keep my feet cooler just because the leather on the bottom is less of a barrier to air exchange, etc., than, say, you know, something like this, which has different benefits. So leather is breathable, can regulate moisture, can reduce hot spots, reduce clamminess, and help prevent skin irritation and fungal issues. Now, it's very important to not let your leather just rot with wet, you know, so when you do get them sweaty or rainy or slushy or whatever, you want to make sure to let them dry. And in the winter, a lot of times they'll dry them right next to the heater. In the summer, I just let them air out for a day. If I've sweated them, I'll let them air out like 2 days before I put them back in the box. Of course, in the box too, it's cardboard or paper, still breathable. So I've had 0 issues with fungal. You know, potentially if you let these just stay wet, then you could have an issue. But you just got to keep an eye on them, make sure they're dry once you put them on. A lot of people say wear your boots one day and then give them a day off. So it's good to rotate them, have 2 pairs. You know, in my case, I have a few more than that. But in any case, I do try not to wear them one day after the other, especially if I'm sweating in them or getting them wet in, you know, rain or whatever. So that brings me to the weather consideration. Environmental protection from the environment. Leather with good construction offers a better barrier against water, cold, wind, and abrasive surfaces. And that's sort of a no-brainer, you know, like if I kicked a rock, whether I, you know, intended to or not, sometimes I think it's a turd and it's actually a rock. You know, we got a lot of dogs out in the back. If I did it with this shoe, it might give me a little protection, but with this flimsy toe, I could really hurt my foot doing that because there's just no structure to this baby. Whereas if I kick a rock or something with this, my foot is safe. My foot is safe. We have a barrier against water, barrier against, you know, it includes snow, that includes mud, that includes, you know, whatever you get yourself into out of there. Even, I mean, I've had my boot peed on. So if that other shoe was peed on, I don't know, I could throw it in the washer, right? This one, I can just spray it down with enzyme cleaner. It's good. But in any case, a boot like this is going to help your feet feel drier, warmer, and safer in inclement weather. It's going to reduce the risk of blisters, the risk of frost, and irritation from friction. Another advantage of something like this is they pair so well with wool socks. And that's just another layer of protection for insulation, protection against wet, protection against blisters. They pair so well with that. How many times do you see a person wearing wool socks and a pair of Nikes? You know, they don't really line up together. But with wool and leather in combination, it's just like the perfect protective layering system to keep your feet dry, warm, maybe even cool, and safe. So that's another really good reason to wear these. I can wear these in the rain, I can wear them in the snow, I can wear them in the slush. I'm not gonna have a problem. And this is the biggest benefit that I have personally experienced. A well-built boot with good sole traction and ankle and heel support is going to improve your stability on uneven surfaces. I've told you in the past about how I was walking on a bunch of cobblestones in Denmark and in Sweden, especially in Denmark. And if I had tried to negotiate all of that with a pair of Nikes on, I think my ankles would have just been screaming because they would have been so worn out from all the micro adjustments they would have had to have made. Even in boots, it was kind of a challenge, but it was way better than it would have been, you know, again, if I'd have tried to do that in shoes like this. I think, I would have paid the price. Hey, Paris, how you doing there? So this kind of stability is going to improve your safety because it's going to reduce the risk of slipping, of twisting your ankle or of what we might call compensatory strain on your knees. So, you know, if you're having to make a lot of micro adjustments at the base and in the foot area of your foot, then your knee is also going to have to adapt, and that can produce strains that can wear out and tire that joint, which that's the last thing I want. I had my hips replaced, so last thing I want is to have my knees replaced too. And it can also, hey babe, reduce strain on your back. Do you want to be in the video? Huh? She wants to be in the video. Can also reduce strain on the back, especially when you're walking on rough surfaces. Now you may say, work in an office building, you're starting out to walk on rough surfaces. That's great, you know. But in my case, I own a home, I have a yard, I have dogs. I walk on campus. You know, I'm always walking on, even if it's just curbs and sidewalks with, you know, pavement that's kind of shoving up from tree roots or something. I'm always walking on surfaces that are uneven. And I have found, so, you know, I was having trouble with my hips about 3 years ago. And my doctor said it's about time to redo one of them. Well, then I started wearing my heritage boots religiously, and my pain literally went away. And this is just anecdotal, right? This is just me. But because of this, I attribute it to particularly the ankle support and the fact that my ankles and feet were always having to adjust and adapt to every bump in the ground, of which there are a lot. And it just made my hips happier. And to be honest, in my personal case, I really think they've kind of saved me, because the last time I had my hips looked at was last fall, and the doctor said, you're doing great, no problem, you know. And I can easily walk 20,000 steps in a day, doesn't bother me. So with the support that boots like this give, it's just to me a clear health benefit. I don't have back pain, I don't have knee pain. I wear them around the house, I wear them going up and down stairs. And then the last point that we can make with regard to this kind of boot is the longevity. So of all the boots that I have up here, these are my oldest. These are probably about 4 years old. These are the Wolverines. So heritage boots last years. Therefore, once you break them in and you get that good fit going and you get the leather adapted to your foot and everything, and you have all of that, you know, that payoff for the effort of getting broken in. And they probably took me less than a month to break in, and I didn't wear them every day. So then you're not gonna have to worry about having them deteriorate to a point where they no longer fit well, or the bottom has worn off and they're uneven, or the leather has ripped, or, you know, the heel is caved in. None of that's gonna happen. So you're gonna benefit from this proper fit, the stability, the sturdiness over the long haul. In fact, you can, and one of you kindly pointed me to a Red Wing factory video, which thank you, I finally had a chance to watch that last night, and they were making the point that the benefit of the resoleability of these boots, you can just, you know, resole the bottom of it, is that you've done all your breaking in of the uppers, you've got them perfectly suited to your foot. All you have to do is change out the sole, and you can continue to enjoy the benefits of the broken in boot that fits your foot to a T. So you're not repeatedly trying on new footwear that you have to then break in again and have suboptimal support during that break-in period. So in my experience, and, you know, again, based on some of my research here, there truly are health benefits to wearing heritage boots. And I'm sure there are other footwear that has, you know, other health benefits. Maybe, I don't know, work boots, or I probably wouldn't say cowboy boots, because there you can't adjust the top of the boot to fit your ankle, and you're gonna have, your foot's gonna be wiggling around in there. Like, I have a couple pair of cowboy boots, and I don't wear them very often, because on these babies, thanks to the lacing system, I can always adjust them perfectly to, like, there are times when, I'm gonna be sitting in the car for a while, so I'm gonna have to wear them loose. But then, I'm going on a hike with my dog, or in a city or whatever, I gotta tie them a little tighter now. So I can always adjust them perfectly, thanks just to these laces, to whatever conditions, whatever circumstances I'm walking in. So yeah, so I think, summary, because of, I got Paris's hair in my nose, because of all these qualities of, you know, good leather, good construction, quality components, you're going to have support that you can count on. You're going to have less leg fatigue, less foot fatigue, fewer hot spots. You're going to have more comfort, fewer blisters, just lots and lots of benefits, better protection from the elements, drier foot, etc. from wearing heritage boots. So if you have any experience in this area, like if you have also maybe enjoyed some benefits, I don't know, you have bad knees or a bad back or something, and you switched over to heritage boots and you found they made a difference, or maybe they didn't make a difference, maybe it's just fashion statement, whatever. But I'd be really curious about your viewpoint on this whole question of, is there health benefit to wearing heritage boots, and see, if our experiences line up. So thank y'all for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Take care. Bye.